Live from New York. This is the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. It's great to have you in today on a Friday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. How you doing today on the Friday?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to tonight's show here. We got 5 very good topics, exciting topics. You want to get right into it?
Yeah, let's jump right into today's show.
Okay. So, topic 1. Celtics fell once again to the New York Knicks on a last-second steal by Mikal Bridges. The Celtics have now blown back-to-back 20-point leads. What is your reaction to the Celtics Game 2 loss, Nate?
My opening take will be a take that I already gave last show, so I'm actually going to play. This is what I spoke about on last show, on Tuesday's show, after Game 1's absolute meltdown. This is what I had to say. Take a listen.
You think they'll be 25% from 3 the next game?
It wouldn't surprise me again if they shoot between 30 and 20% from 3 in one of these upcoming games. It would not surprise me at all. I do think we'll see another game like this. It might be 27%. It may be 30%. But I believe we are going to see another game, and especially from Jayson Tatum. We might see 2 more of these Jayson Tatum games. Who knows? Well, apparently I did, because not only did they shoot the exact same percentage from 3, 25%, Jayson Tatum in the fourth quarter, again, put up a dub performance. And again, I've always heard the Jayson Tatum hate, and I can understand that because he should be the number 1 guy for the Boston Celtics. He's the guy that's always been in the MVP conversations. He's regarded as the number 1 guy on the Boston Celtics. Meanwhile, Jaylen Brown is regarded as the number 2, one of the best number 2s in the NBA. But again, I'm also going to put some of the blame here on Jaylen Brown because, again, he went 8 for 23, 2 for 7 from 3. He put up a big fat nothing across the stat sheet in the fourth quarter. So, again, there's a lot of blame to go around. It's not strictly on Jayson Tatum. But this was probably a bigger meltdown for the Boston Celtics than Game 1 because they missed 15 of their last 17 shots. And during that time, they went 0 for 13 during that span. And the Knicks got their first lead with 1:58 left, not in the first quarter, not in the second quarter, not in the third quarter, in the game. They had under 2 minutes where they led in this game, and it just so happens to be in crunch time. Now, the question is, what's my reaction? Is, again, not surprised. I think going into the series, everybody, every single person, besides maybe diehard Knicks fans, and even I've had a couple Knicks fans on this show, and they've even said that they expect the Celtics to win. Hell, one of my friends, Nick, as some of you know on the show, has come on a couple times to talk about the Giants. He thought the Celtics should either sweep or a gentleman's sweep for the Knicks to reboot their idea. Well, this is now a roster that is in position to not only not get swept, but to do, in essence, a reverse sweep and sweep the Boston Celtics. So my reaction to this game overall is I'm not surprised at all that the Celtics once again fell apart because that's what they do. And on top of it, and I've spoken about this before, the Celtics are a bad road team, or a bad home team compared to being a significantly better road team. I'm not exactly sure why. Normally, like we saw with the Los Angeles Clippers, they couldn't win on the road. They dominated at home. I mean, we've seen Norman Powell and Derrick Jones. They step up when it's at home. Even James Harden stepped up at home. But on the road against Denver, who right now got blown out by the Oklahoma City Thunder in Game 2, they were a completely different team on the road. This team, while the record says that they were both good on the road and at home, historically, they've not been anywhere near the same team when it comes down to in the playoffs. And this whole ideology about how they need to drive more. That's what I agree. I don't disagree whatsoever because they were 11 for 11 on dunk attempts. Their best shooting percentage is on layups. They're 20 of 45. But everywhere else, whether it's jump shots, overall 2-point percentage, or 3-point shots, the only one that isn't at 100 attempts is layups. And I guess dunks if you were to say that. But right around the rim. They're taking, right now, they have 134 jump shots. 100 are threes. They're actually shooting overall. They've made more threes than the New York Knicks have over the course of the series. But when it comes down to it, in the fourth quarter, Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown, your 1A, 1B, or I guess 1 and 2 options, although at this point they're doing basically the same when it comes to crunch time. Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum, they don't show up. The team shuts down. Defensively, the Knicks and Jaylen Brown, they come back in this game. Mikal Bridges scored all of his 14 points in the fourth quarter after putting up a big nothing throughout the entire game, essentially. I mean, this was overall an embarrassing performance for the Boston Celtics. The Knicks shot 29% from 3. If the Knicks played any other team right now, if they played the Pacers, if they played the Cavs, if they played the Pistons, if they played any other team in the Eastern Conference at this stage in the game, and they shot 29% from 3, they're losing this game. It just so happens to go up against the Boston Celtics, who have repeatedly over the course of these playoffs choked and choked and choked and choked again. So will they win Game 3, the Boston Celtics? I have no idea. We'll talk about it later on in the show. But if I'm the Boston Celtics right now, I am incredibly nervous because we should have won both these games. We were up by 20 in each of them and completely fell apart. It's the first time in NBA history that a team can go up 20 and lose that 20-point lead and lose the game in back-to-back performances. So if I'm the Boston Celtics, I'm shaking in my boots a little bit.
I think they should be, and I think they should be looking at the game tonight as a must-win.
Tomorrow.
I'm sorry, tomorrow. It's a must-win. I mean, if they get down 3-0, it's over. And, being up 2-0, the Knicks, 87% of the time, when you start on the road, you wind up winning the series. So the Celtics are in a very deep hole. And as you mentioned, for the second game in a row, the Celtics built a nice lead. They were by 20 again in the second half, only to let it slip away, losing by 1 point in Game 2. I guess if there's one positive you could take away from both games, they were both close. They weren't blowouts. I mean, they were both close games. So the Knicks managed to pull it out at the end, and congratulations to them. I think it was essentially a repeat of Game 1, Game 2, with the Knicks pulling off the improbable, coming back from 20 and winning it right at the end. Bridges was big in Game 2, as you mentioned, with 14 points in the fourth quarter and a last-second steal. Same thing he did in Game 1. He stole the ball right at the end, too, this time away from Tatum. In the first game, it was away from Brown. Jalen Brunson, I think this is one thing the Celtics really have to be worried about. Jalen Brunson, only 17 points, and they still won. They've got the other players stepping up. Bridges, 14 points. Hart, 23 points. Towns, 21 points and 17 rebounds. He's been huge. They're stepping up, which is a very bad sign for the Celtics, I think. Knicks will be at home for the next two, which is also bad for the Celtics. Although the Celtics, as you mentioned, they play better on the road generally. The Celtics, who live and die with a three-point shot, were 10 for 40 in this game, 25%. Same as in Game 1 when they shot 15 for 60, which was also 25%. 24 for 54 from two-point range, which was 44%. Brown and White had 20 points in this game. Tatum, 13 points on 5 of 19 shooting. He hasn't shown up, man. He's really not living up to his status as the Celtics' go-to guy, the number one player for them. The Celtics had no field goals in the last 8 minutes of the fourth quarter, and I think this is something that we haven't talked a lot about, and I haven't read much about, but Thibodeau's defense in the fourth quarter in these last two games had been shut down. I think that's played a factor here, and the Celtics not being able to shoot from three. The defense has been great. And also, Porzingis, out only 14 minutes in this game, 8 points, 4 rebounds. He was good when he was in there, but he's got this virus or some illness that just saps his energy, and he can only play a few minutes in each game. I think that is a weird thing, a mysterious thing, a bad thing for the Celtics. And poor Porzingis, he didn't play much in last year's playoffs, too. He got hurt and had a weird injury that kept him from playing much of the series, and many of the series. And now he's got this illness, so it's strange. Celtics led by 84-68 with 8:40 to play and didn't score again until there were only 18 and a half seconds left when Tatum went the length of the floor and dunked it. I think the Knicks' defensive scheme has been the big factor, as I mentioned, and it had a big effect on the Celtics shooting. Both games have been close, but it's obvious the Knicks want it more. I think that's the one thing I take away from this. Some of the quotes from the players when they talked to Bridges afterwards about his fourth quarter performance. He said, "We're just finding ways to win." Brunson, and I thought this was a very telling quote. He says, "Going home, we realize the opportunity we have. We just have to stay locked in." And he's right. They're going home 2-0, ahead 2-0. If they lose this series, you were talking about Tom Thibodeau will be fired if the Knicks lose this series. I didn't think so. I mean, if it was like 4-2 or maybe 4-3 and they lost, I didn't think they would fire him. But I guarantee you, if they lose this 2-0 lead and they wind up losing to the Celtics, I think there's a good chance he will be fired. Jaylen Brown, he said, this is an opportunity to show what we're made of. Yeah, we're in a terrible hole. We've got to respond. No kidding. Josh Hart, he said, Hart said they're going to be going home knowing they can still play better. He said, I don't even think we know what we're capable of. He said, I think that's a little bit of maybe an arrogant comment, but looking at some of the detailed stats, and this is important for the Knicks, the starters averaging 39.4 minutes. That's down, and Jalen Brunson, and in particular, they limited his minutes. He had 38 minutes on the floor. Towns 35 minutes. It's Bridges that's been playing the big minutes. He had 43 in this game, and Josh Hart 43 as well. The scoring balanced for the starters. Bridges 14, Towns 21, Brunson 17, which was low for him, right? Josh Hart 23, and the starters having 80 points. The bench only 11 points, but the bench was on the plus-minus, plus 32. They also had 8 rebounds, 2 assists, and 4 steals, only 2 turnovers. The Celtics, on the other hand, only 67 points from the starters. That was the difference in this game, right? 80 points for the Knicks starters, only 67 for the Celtics starters, 23 from the bench for the Celtics. They have Pritchard, Porzingis, and Cornette. Cornette playing big minutes because of Porzingis being ill. They had 23 points, so they beat the Knicks by quite a bit, but they were only plus on the plus-minus, only plus 3. They had 15 rebounds and a couple assists and a couple of turnovers. The team stats, it's in a way, it's hard to see how the Knicks won this game. On the field goal percentage, they were up quite a bit, 43 to 36 for the Celtics. 3 points, they were -3. They only shot 29%. The Celtics 25. The Knicks only shot 29%. The free throws, they were -4 there. And points, rebounds, they were -6. Assists, they were +2. Let's see. On the steals, they were +2. On the turnovers, they had -11 points on the turnovers, and that was surprising. Fast break points +12. They were even in the paint. The big factor here, the Celtics having a 20-point lead at one point in the game, and the Knicks, the biggest lead they have was 3 points. It was right at the end. So I'm shocked by it. I thought that the Celtics would win this series based on the Knicks playing basically like they played in past series, with Jalen Brunson doing basically everything and being out there basically playing football, banging into people, and nobody else really stepping up, and the bench being terrible. I thought the Celtics bench would be too much for the Knicks, and the bench has played okay, but the starters have been terrible, and Brown and Tatum have not stepped up. The Celtics live and die by the 3, and they can't hit one.
Let's get into our next topic of today's show.
Okay, so the Timberwolves took full advantage of Stephen Curry's absence, cruising to a 24-point win over the Warriors in Game 2. How far can the Warriors go without Curry?
Nowhere. And I understand they're going back home to Chase Center. That's the crowd's going to be electric and whatnot. I don't think they're going to go very far. I think with Stephen Curry out there, I think the reason why the Timberwolves, besides not being able to hit a shot, their whole premise was going to be chase Steph Curry around, make him uncomfortable, force him into difficult situations, make him hit godly shots, and then he ended up getting hurt very early in the game. He scored, I think, 13 points in 13 minutes in Game 1. And it was an incredible performance, and then Buddy Hield stepped up. He made 9 threes in the game, tying, I believe, a playoff record with Dante DiVincenzo. But no, I don't think they're going to get very far, because the Timberwolves in Game 2 showed you that if they just play their brand of basketball and not an anti-Steph Curry brand of basketball, this is the exact performance that they're going to do. In fact, we even saw Anthony Edwards get banged up, and he came back in this game and dropped a nice 20-piece on the Golden State Warriors. But what I find interesting, and this is going to be most of my take so far for the Golden State Warriors, is the Draymond Green comment postgame, where he said, quote, "I'm not an angry black man. I'm a successful, educated black man with a great family, and I'm great at basketball. I'm great at what I do. The agenda trying to make me look like an angry black man is crazy. I'm sick of it. It's ridiculous." And then he left. I don't think Draymond Green understands the perception of the way the fans think. I understand that there was something when he was on the bike and people were throwing racial slurs at him. That is completely unacceptable. But when it comes to the mass perception of people, when we look at Draymond Green on the basketball court, we see somebody who constantly gets technical fouls, constantly yells at the refs, constantly gets flagrant fouls, who's gotten suspended from several games for actions where he just blows up on the basketball court. We've seen Stephen Curry's reaction after getting technical fouls of, come on, Draymond, are you serious? We've had Steve Kerr take Draymond Green out of this exact game to calm him down. And I think that from a basketball standpoint, Draymond Green's record is that he is an incredibly aggressive basketball player. And honestly, I think a lot of these referees have actually given him a pass because he's gotten technical fouls and then has clapped in the face of refs. He's, after getting ejected or after getting another technical foul, has gone from the bench and walked over to the referees to complain about it. And I would say 95% of people in the NBA, if they did the exact actions Draymond Green would do, they would get double technical fouled and they'd be thrown out of the game. And just based on Draymond Green's fine and suspension career, he's been fined 228 times for technical fouls, flagrant twos, and escalating on the court for a grand total of $942,000. He's been suspended from 21 games. That has accumulated $3.22 million worth of fines and suspension money. That's a grand total. He's been suspended and fined a grand total of $4,165,073. So I think that Draymond Green is an incredibly aggressive basketball player. And honestly, that's good for the Golden State Warriors because they need somebody to be that enforcer. But instead of being an enforcer, Draymond Green takes it up a whole nother level. And that's where he puts himself and his team in a massive detrimental situation. Jimmy Butler will need to be playoff Jimmy as we see. And he said in a postgame he feels like he can. It's just about a matter of if they need him to. Well, I think the time is now with Stephen Curry out for at least the rest of this week, potentially more. He'll get reevaluated in about a week or so. And I think they will need a playoff Jimmy Butler game where he does drop over 40 points in a singular game. Buddy Hield can't be a reliable number two. Podziemski can also be an incredibly reliable basketball player as of yet. Draymond Green chucked up 6 threes. He made 1 in this game. The Timberwolves are going to take over in this series. If Draymond Green doesn't get his act together enough where he's not getting himself kicked out of the game or at least put up a massive amount of technical fouls, because I think he's only 1 or 2 away from getting a suspension. And the last time we saw that in a playoff game is because he kept kicking Steven Adams in the midsection. That he did that against the Cavaliers, got suspended for Game 5, a crucial Game 5, which allowed the Cavaliers to propel themselves into a Game 7 where Kyrie hit the infamous shot, which was the only time, I believe, in NBA history, in the NBA Finals, where a team has come back from 3-1 in the NBA Finals. Yeah, because the Golden State Warriors did that the series before. But come back from 3-1 in the NBA Finals and win and gave Cleveland their first championship. So as long as Draymond Green could still be that enforcer, I would say the narrative he put on himself largely because of his behavior on the basketball court, getting over $4 million in suspension and fine money sent over to the NBA. I think that if he just does that and Jimmy Butler takes control, is selfish, plays selfish basketball, and puts up a bunch of points, I would give the Warriors a shot at winning one of the games. But if Stephen Curry's gone and we don't see a playoff Jimmy Butler game, I think that the Warriors may get swept at home, which would mean they'll probably get gentlemen swept because I don't think they'll be able to come back from a 3-1 deficit.
Yeah, I definitely tend to agree with your analysis there. I think in this last game, starting the game on a 13-0 run, just cooked the Warriors. I think that was that took the wind out of their sails. It showed that they didn't have Curry out there. They didn't have the confidence. They just started so poorly, and I think that was it. I think Kerr made the right decision then. He kind of turned the game into an experiment, playing everyone on the bench, which identified actually 2 bright spots in Kuminga, who had 18 points, 5 rebounds, and an assist, and Jackson Davis, who had 15 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, and a steal and a block. The bench had 41 points and 22 rebounds, but they turned the ball over 9 times, which was an issue. And they had a plus-minus of minus 92 in this game. But that was largely because of the, they were out there. There were some starters out there, and the starters just played terrible. The starters only scored 52 points, and they only averaged 25.6 minutes because Kerr was trying to find some combinations off the bench, which I think was a smart move. Given that they probably weren't going to win the game anyway, trying to identify some combinations that might help them just win one game when they go back home is what they're looking for. And as I mentioned, they only shot 28% from three. Minnesota, they used their bench effectively too. When that they made a smart move there. They didn't keep their starters out there big minutes, but their bench outscored the Warriors at 46 points, 10 rebounds, 15 assists, a plus-minus of plus 51. So their bench did great. And they have a nice deep bench. They got some good players off their bench. The starters scored 71 points to the Warriors 52, averaging 28.8 minutes played. They had Randall, he had 24 points, Edwards 20 points. I don't think the Warriors can win the series without Curry. They got to try to get him back. Their best chance here is to try to win one at home. These next two, with these maybe they learned something from all these combinations. They do have to have Jimmy Butler have a playoff Jimmy game, and hopefully they get Curry back for Game 6 and 7, and hopefully they're tying the series up here. Go back to Minnesota, and hopefully Curry can play then. And if he can't, then then it would be 3-2 Minnesota, come back, Game 6 at home, and have Curry back then. I think that's a possibility. I think this series right now still far from being over. If the Timberwolves win both games in San Francisco, I think it's over.
I think that just like we saw in Game 5 against the Rockets, once they were getting blown out, Steve Kerr kind of waved the white flag, and it's like, okay, let's move on to Game 6. I think this was a similar game because when you see Trace Jackson Davis out there, and I believe this is the first amount of minutes, at least significant minutes he's played all playoffs, and also you see Kevin Knox out there and Braxton Key, Pat Spencer's getting double-digit minutes when not needed, obviously, because he's been in there throughout the series so far, throughout the playoffs. But when he's getting massive amounts of minutes, and also you have Jonathan Kuminga playing basically 27 minutes of the game, that's when you know that Steve Kerr is just trying to, he's throwing everybody out there. Let's get some playing time. Let's rest Jimmy Butler as much as we can. Let's rest Buddy Hield. Let's rest Draymond. Let's just rest all our main starters because we'll need them for Game 3, Game 4, because we're going to need to see a Jimmy Butler insane playoff Jimmy game. Because there's no way that they're going to go into Golden State, and the crowd's going to be on their side, absolutely. But they cannot go into Golden State, put up another dud performance like this. Otherwise, they will get gentlemen swept. Yeah. And that will be most likely if Curry, if the hamstring injury, I guess, heals enough where Curry can play and is confident enough in playing, so that would be Game 5. What's the likelihood that down 3-1, the Warriors are going to pull a 2016 Warriors against the Thunder and come back from a 3-1 deficit? I can't see that happening whatsoever, even if Curry's out there. So they're going to need to steal one at home, so at least you have a shot to make it a 2-2 series when Curry comes back. Then you could still play off of Stephen Curry, and then the Timberwolves can maybe pull out what the Game 1 strategy was, which is let's chase Stephen Curry around, let's make him uncomfortable, and then that opens up the lane for Buddy Hield. That opens it up for Podziemski. That opens it up for Draymond Green to knock down a number of threes and whatsoever. It opens up what your offense looks like. Because right now, when you have some of your main key players put up a dud performance, you're obviously going to wave the white flag. The Timberwolves are a better team. They're younger. They're more athletic than you are. You need Curry to go out there and put up a 13.13-minute type of a performance. You're not going to get that from Guy Santos. You're not going to get that from Moses Moody or Gary Payton. Hell, Moses Moody airballed a 4-foot floater. Like that's how bad this game ended up being. So
yeah, well, I think they made the right move and benched the starters. They only played 25, as I mentioned, 25 minutes on average. I think if they can steal a game here, which they have to do to get the series back to 2-2, might not play Curry for Game 5. Wait for Game 6. A hamstring.
No, you can't do that because then it's a one and done. If you don't play Curry in Game 5, you lose it. You're down 3-2.
Well. I think the hamstring injury is a tough one to come back from, and it's very painful. It takes time to heal. I think if you put him out there and he's unsure about it, it'll be worse than just going down 3-2 and then get the chance to go back to San Francisco with him feeling much better and maybe getting the series tied and then try to win it in Game 7. I think a couple of other comments from reading about the game, behind the scenes here, apparently Chris Finch, the Timberwolves coach was furious at them. He had a film session with them and the day before the game, and they say he was very ornery in that game. He was unhappy, and he let us know he was unhappy, and we felt it. That's what Randall said. And he said it motivated the team. Randall went out and had 24 points. Anthony Edwards finished with 20 after that injury scare for the Wolves, and they more than tripled their three-point performance from Game 1, going 16 to 37. That was important. And just looking at some of the stats here, the bench play, as I mentioned, the Warriors just emptying the bench. They wound up scoring 41 points. I think Kuminga, he's going to have to play. He's going to be playing in game 4 here. Game 3 and 4. He showed some life here. 18 points, 5 rebounds, and an assist. And Jackson Davis, 15 points. Buddy Hield, he had 15-point game. He's capable of much more. They got to have somebody that can quarterback the team. That's Curry's job. And I don't know who that's going to be. It'll have to be Jimmy Butler. He'll have to be the point forward in this game. And looking at the team stats, the steals. The assists for Minnesota. They had a +10 on that. On the three-point shooting, +21. You're not going to win with that kind of stat. The free throws are pretty close, -3 for them. Rebounds, -3. The turnovers, they were a +7 there, and they had +10 points there. That was another killer for the Warriors. Points in the paint, they were +8, and fast break points +6. So they dominated the game. Their lead was as much as 25 points, and the Warriors never had a lead.
Well, I'll say that they were able to actually cut the deficit to 7 points when the score was 62-55, and that's with 6:39 left in the third quarter. So they actually made a pretty decent run coming out of halftime, where they actually, you open up with 56 points for the Timberwolves, and through the first, half of the third quarter, they only score a grand total of 6 points. And the Warriors, they opened up the second half with 39 points. You get all the way to 55. So they actually had an opportunity to mount a comeback, but then with a turnover by Jimmy Butler from a traveling, and then Naz Reid hitting a 3, Kuminga actually bounces back with another 3. But then Dante DiVincenzo returns it with another 3, and that's what really started it, because there was a bunch of missed shots. Jimmy Butler, Trace Jackson Davis also missed a few shots there. So they had an opportunity, but without your number one guy to put them to sleep or to hit those killer three-pointers, which absolutely sucks the life force out of anybody once Curry gets going. It had no hope at that point once the Warriors start to miss those shots. So I don't think they could win Game 3. I really doubt they could win a Game 4, but obviously some of my predictions for some of these games have been falling flat, so maybe I could do a little bit of reverse psychology and hopefully do a return jinx on that, but obviously we'll see.
I think the Warriors will find a way to win one of the 2 games.
It would definitely be a very impressive upset, I would say, even though the Warriors are at home. All right, we're going to take a quick break, but coming up, George Pickens, finally. Jerry Jones maybe this is what he meant by going all in. It's just a season too late, as well as Bleacher Report came out with a top 12 quarterback list post-draft. We'll react and debate about that, as well as we'll wrap it up with our prediction for Game 3. Tomorrow's game at 3:30 between the Boston Celtics and the New York Knicks. Can the Knicks go up 3-0? We'll talk about that right after this break.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.
Whether you're just discovering your voice or taking your show to the next level, you know what the world needs to hear. All you have to do is say it. With Spotify, set up your podcast. Your food podcast. Your mindfulness podcast. Your never thought you'd get this far podcast. And watch those sparks fly.
I put a picture of the
Drop the episode anywhere people listen. And find out who they're cooking with. Where they're finding inner balance. And why they love your show. You're already a creator. Now you can create, connect, and get paid for your passion with one single free tool. Spotify for podcasters. Talk where the world listens.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. It's great to have you in today on a Friday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our next topic of today's show.
Okay, Jerry Jones took an uncharacteristic big swing and traded for Steelers wide receiver George Pickens for a 2026 third round and a 2027 fifth round pick. Nate, who do you think won this trade, the Steelers or the Cowboys?
I don't think there are any winners. I think there's only losers, and one of which it'll be a TBD. But I think actually, I'm going to back up that statement. I do think there is a partial winner here, and I do think it is the Pittsburgh Steelers. The only reason that would be a loss is if Aaron Rodgers, who is all projected to go there, actually we have no clue. Rodgers apparently is still pondering his life decisions at this point, but if Rodgers actually liked having the dynamic duo of DK Metcalf and George Pickens, that's the only way it would be a loss. Otherwise, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I would say it's a win because I think the Cowboys overpaid for George Pickens. They sent him a third-round pick when, according to the Athletic's Jeff Howe, some teams reportedly, quote, laughed at the idea of trading for George Pickens when learning the Steelers were shopping the wide receiver during the 2025 NFL Draft. Some teams, polled by the Athletic, laughed at the idea of inviting Pickens into their locker room for any price, let alone a second-day draft pick. And that's the reason why I would say it's a win for the Pittsburgh Steelers, because we saw over the course of the last few years, and especially last year, where George Pickens became a nuisance on the field, where he would put no effort into routes that he knew he wasn't getting the ball for, and especially pointing out some of the run-blocking schemes, even though a run-blocking scheme, obviously the wide receiver has no part in actually the play except to block your guy. And we've seen over the course of any NFL team, everybody is putting in, or at least I would say 95% of them, you do have some of those bad apples just like George Pickens, where you put in no effort in a play that has really nothing to do with you. And we saw that with George Pickens last year. Even so much so, Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have a history of drafting or picking up some of these disgruntled receivers. Look at Deontay Johnson. He's bounced around the league in one singular year because for on-the-field issues, who the hell knows? But even Mike Tomlin last year said that Pickens needed to grow up. And obviously, at the end of the year, there was the infamous press conference where George Pickens was asked if he had any more faith in the Pittsburgh Steelers after, some of their recent performances. His response was, nah. So obviously, and that's why I said months ago, I made the prediction months ago that George Pickens, going into 2025, will not be on the Pittsburgh Steelers roster. And Mike Tomlin finally said, you know what? Supposedly, he led the charge on this. That no, George Pickens will not be a receiver anymore for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But besides that, we've also seen George Pickens get into on-field altercations during against the Cleveland Browns. He's been fined more than $20,000 in two unsportsmanlike conduct violations against the Bengals. And apparently, reportedly, he arrived late on Christmas Day for the matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs. So the fact that one of the most respected head coaches, and albeit I'll say this because I've said this repeatedly on the show, I don't love the fact that the only thing going for Mike Tomlin now is he's never had a losing season. What about winning a playoff game? That hasn't happened since, I think, 2016. Don't love that. Or maybe 2018. I forget the exact. I think it is 2016, though. Mike Tomlin is one of the most respected head coaches in the NFL. And the fact that he even said, he told George Pickens to grow up, that just shows you what of a locker room cancer George Pickens seems to be. Because if he's out there on the field, complaining and all that, that's not a good look. That's not exactly what you want from a guy who's going to a Dallas Cowboys team. And this is the loss for the Cowboys, where they spent a third-round pick and a fifth-round pick to go get George Pickens, who will get upset if he doesn't get the ball, and George Pickens will now be relegated from being a number one during his entire time, basically, with the Pittsburgh Steelers, now being relegated to the number 2 spot behind CeeDee Lamb. I don't know how that's going to pan out exactly with George Pickens being a number 2 when he complains a lot about not getting the football as much or really at all, or at least to the level that he expects the amount of targets to be. So I think it is a big loss. And also, supposedly, the Cowboys expect to extend George Pickens, who is playing on a contract year this year, and going to a team where the leader of the team will be Brian Schottenheimer, a first-time head coach who didn't even call plays last year. I think this is a runaway train. But it does give Dak Prescott another weapon, although the running game was the issue last year, not the wide receiver core. But they do add another weapon to Dak Prescott's arsenal. That, I guess, is a plus. But I do think, if we're talking about strictly winners, I do think the Steelers did win this because they got off of a toxic player trait in what George Pickens has.
To agree with you on this, I do think that it's another example of the NFL sending a message. You guys, attitude is important here, and being commitment and motivation and being a good teammate, all of that. You show with Shedeur Sanders, a lot of comments about him being a wise guy and not taking his interviews seriously. It cost him big time. He dropped to the 5th round. Here's George Pickens, who talent-wise is one of the better wide receivers in the league, but he's got issues in the locker room, issues with the coaches, issues on the field with sportsmanlike conduct penalties, and hey, he's gone. He's gone now to the Cowboys, who are going to take a flyer on him and see how they do. So I agree. I think the Steelers had the upper hand here in this trade. I think the trade is generally viewed as a move driven by the Steelers' focus on the future and a desire to acquire draft capital. They appear to be stockpiling draft picks, particularly in 2026, adding a 2026 third-round pick now from the Cowboys and a 27 fifth-round pick for Pickens. Who was going to be the Cowboys' number 2? Who was going to be the Pittsburgh's number 2 receiver to complement DK Metcalf? They really haven't figured that out. Robert Woods, I think, is maybe a pretty poor second to George Pickens in terms of talent and youth. I mean, Robert Woods is he's getting up there in age. I don't know. He's a journeyman now. So I think they'll probably still be looking around. There's some other wide receivers still out there that I'll get to in a minute. The Cowboys, I think they gain a talented wide receiver in Pickens who will complement CeeDee Lamb and create more opportunities for Dak Prescott. Pickens provides a strong vertical threat in the Cowboys' passing game. He has a history of making contested catches and taking it deep. I saw one catch he made in his rookie year, which is unbelievable. I think they always play that some of the big catches from some of the players, but that one Pickens had in his rookie season was one I'll never forget. So the guy can perform. It's just got a little bit of a head case. He's in the final year of his rookie deal. The Cowboys will need to decide if they want to extend him, so that's going to be a big issue. And if I were them, I wouldn't. I would let him play out his contract here. He's going to have to play well in order to get then they risk somebody else picking him up. But to find out whether he's really got it or not, I'd let him play out the contract. We'll have to wait and see what they do. So opportunities for Pickens to improve his reputation, which is something that is a problem. So I think no doubt this trade improved the Cowboys' passing game. I think Pickens is a deep threat, averaging 16, almost 17 yards per catch the past 2 seasons. Only a receiver in the past 3 seasons to post 50-plus receptions, 800-plus yards, and 15-plus yards per reception. They only missed 3 games due to injury, so he's pretty durable too. But saying he's the missing piece for the Cowboys' offense, I think, is a little overblown, because until he is signed to a long-term deal, this is just a 1-year experiment, and the Cowboys and they lack other pieces on offense too. I think I don't know whether the Steelers, you think that a third-round pick was great for the Steelers to get. Some people think that they should have gotten more, but I tend to think the chronic number of incidents over the past few years off the field and his unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, as Tomlin said, he needs to grow up. They've just had enough of him and moved off of him. Barely got more than a compensatory draft pick. If they let him go after next year, they probably would have gotten close to what they got in trading him. So they didn't get a lot. They didn't get a ton for him, that's for sure. But maybe that was right. I think it's time for Dak now to step up, as Lamb and Pickens combo will be one of the more feared in the NFL, I think. The Steelers now lack weapons on offense, no number 2 receiver really, in case you think Robert Woods is the key number 2 receiver. A rookie running back replacing Najee Harris. They got Metcalf and Robert Woods, and they let Pickens, Jefferson, Van Jefferson, and Mike Williams go. Maybe they should look to acquire Amari Cooper. He's still out there. Keenan Allen or Gabe Davis. Will Aaron Rodgers be scared off? I don't think so by this. The Steelers seem confident he will sign, and he will have Metcalf to throw to.
Okay, let's get into our next topic of today's show.
Okay, so this is a real interesting one, and I think the Bleacher Report, giving its list of the top 12 quarterbacks in the league now, post-draft, they came up with number 1, Josh Allen, 2, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow at 3, Patrick Mahomes at 4, Jalen Hurts at 5, Justin Herbert 6, Jared Goff 7, Jaden Daniels 8, C.J. Stroud at 9, Brock Purdy at 10, Jordan Love at 11, and Tua at number 12. So, Nate, do you agree with the Bleacher Report list?
I disagree with it on really the placement of some of these players. I disagree with, but there's 2 players that I had on my list. I would say about a month ago that honestly the list is similar. There's a few ones that I do have an issue with. The first off, where's Matt Stafford? He is the only quarterback that gave this Philadelphia Eagles defense some real trouble, and in the biggest game that the Rams did play, led them all the way down in the snow, a Los Angeles team in the snow, and was one Jalen Carter sack away for potentially beating what ended up being the Super Bowl winning team. So I think Matt Stafford definitely deserves to be here. But on top of it, also, where's another quarterback? He has back-to-back 4,000-yard seasons. They just gave him another weapon. Where's Baker Mayfield? If we remember, and some people had an issue with this because I left off the Bleacher Report's number 10 guy, but where's Baker Mayfield? This was my top 10 list. And again, I want to preface this, not in order. When I made this list, it was not in 1 to 10 order. It was just what I thought the top 10 quarterbacks were in the NFL. But I do think that this is a better list than what Bleacher Report has. Jordan Love, I agree, is not a top 10 quarterback right now. C.J. Stroud just had a sophomore slump. Why would he be a top 10 quarterback? Brock Purdy, and when we get into the conversation, I'm saving some data for when Brock Purdy does get the extension. But there's some data out there that says he's not that clutch. So if you want to complain about that, I'm sure we could have that debate in the comments section once Brock Purdy does get signed. And Tua Tagovailoa is number 12 on the Bleacher Report list. Once it gets a little bit cold, where 95% of anybody who feels a legitimate winter when it gets like 50 or below, where they put on a sweatshirt, Tua is like a fish out of water. He's like a fish on a freezer. He just freezes up entirely. Where I don't think they have a win. The Dolphins don't have a singular win under the Tua Tagovailoa era when it's 45 degrees or below. So how is Tua on a top 12 list? I'm not exactly sure. He's also one concussion away from probably being forced to medically retire. So I don't love that. In fact, your number 1 wide receiver wants out. Your number 1 cornerback is on his way out. So the Dolphins, in of itself, they're probably not going to be a tremendous team next year. So I don't think Tua deserves to be on the list. But otherwise, I agree with the players. I don't agree exactly with the ranking of them. I think Mahomes should be under Hurts because he just beat him and outplayed him in the Super Bowl. Justin Herbert, I'm fine with that. Jaden Daniels, I also think should be higher. Maybe put him above 8 a little bit because he is one of the most clutch quarterbacks already, and he's right now going into his sophomore season. But if talking about top 12, I may put Bo Nix in the top 12. I may take Bo Nix and put him over Tua Tagovailoa. Brock Purdy would be my number 11 quarterback. Again, I want to bring up my top 10 list one more time. Again, not in the exact order, but these are what I think are the top 10 quarterbacks heading into 2025. It's the exact same list I had a month ago, and I still think it stands here. So to put Brock Purdy at 10, C.J. Stroud at number 9, Jordan Love at 11, and the Tua one, that's the biggest one I have an issue with. Having Tua Tagovailoa as a top 12 quarterback when, again, you could have him for 70% of the season. But the 70% is the first 3 quarters, essentially, of the season. The back 30, it's December and January, a.k.a. you're playing in cold weather. So it's actually against what Tua and the Dolphins do. So I wouldn't put Tua in the top 12 whatsoever.
I agree with you on Tua. They put him in the top 12 because they say it's the it factor.
It factor.
The it factor. Yeah, that's what they said it
Are we
is.
sure it's not hit factor where one more hit and he's going to be out for the rest of his career?
Might be that, but they talk about the it factor, but they don't define what it is. Well, to me, the it factor is the QBR rating, in which evaluates quarterbacks' overall impact on a game by considering a wide range of factors, including passing, rushing, turnovers, and situational context. The QBR includes the throw difficulty, the defense quality that the quarterback's playing against, and pressure situations. Includes rushing contributions, the sack avoidance and fumbles. Situational context includes the down and distance of each play, the score, and the remaining time in the game. And there's adjustments for opposing defenses, which include including the strength and the ranking of the opposing defense. The QBR provides a holistic view of a quarterback's impact on a game by considering more factors than just passing. I like the QBR a lot. We've talked about this before. I like it so much that I came up with my own formula, which takes the QBR and weights at 1.5 plus the passer rating to come up with a ranking for the quarterbacks.
Is this the comeback of the Harvey Harvey data?
Yeah, that's right.
Called it?
The Harvey formula.
That's what it is.
Yeah. So the Harvey QB formula. So I did it for this show, and I've come up with a list that I think is more representative. I wouldn't say that I followed the numbers exactly.
Because there is some eye test to it. There has to be.
A little bit, yeah. But I didn't follow it exactly, but very close. So I don't know. Can you put my list up?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, so I ranked Lamar Jackson number 1. In my ranking, he comes up with a QBR, which was 77.5 times 1.5. It's 116 points plus his passer rating of 119 gives him 235.9 points. He blows away the field. I don't know how they put Josh Allen first.
Because he won the MVP.
He won the MVP, but I think, and they say since 2020 he has all these some stats that they show. Well, he hasn't got to a Super Bowl yet.
Neither has Lamar.
Neither has Lamar. I agree with that. But Lamar's stats and how he's played, particularly last season, when I gave him the nod at MVP over Allen, and he didn't get it. I think it was just fatigue in terms of the voters. They didn't want to give it to Jackson 3 years in a row.
Well, it's not 3 years in a row, but it would be his third MVP.
Third, that's true. That wouldn't be 3 years in a row. So 235.9. The second rank I give to Joe Burrow. He came up with 221 points in my scoring. He has a 75 QBR, and his passer times 1.5. It's 112.5, and he has 108 points on the passer rating. That's 221. He gets 221 to Allen. I have at 3. He's at 217. And then at number 4, I have Jared Goff, who his passer rating was out of sight last year, and his QBR was very commendable at 68.5, gives him 102 points. He comes in at 214.6, so he would be my 4th ranked quarterback. Number 5, Jaden Daniels. I think the way he played last year, I mean, there's some factors that you just can't quantify here, but I think it wrapped up in the QBR. For a rookie to have a QBR of almost 71, I think was pretty very commendable for him. I put him at number 5. At number 6, I had Jalen Hurts. He won the Super Bowl last year. That's a intangible factor that you have to give some consideration for. He brings a lot to the game in the context area, and also in the intangible area with his running ability. And admittedly, he had some excellent weapons around him. Saquon Barkley, who broke the record for total yards for a running back in counting the playoffs last year, and actually sat in many games in the second half because they were so far ahead. I still put Hurts at number 6. At number 7, I had Jordan Love. I Actually, I'm sorry. I switched that, right? I have this is where I have my I veered away from my points because of Mahomes' Super Bowl factor, and I put him at number 7, even though his stats would have put him down at number 11 on a purely stat basis. But the guy, he has an intangible factor that is an it factor. That
you talk about it factor. Mahomes got it.
Yeah, you have him at number 1, but I don't know where you would
it's not exactly.
I don't know
number
where
one.
you would put him in your list.
I think I would put him.
I don't think he's number
6.
1 anymore.
I'd put him at 6
Okay,
if I were to
so
do a full
him,
ranking.
I have him at 7, and then Patrick Mahomes at 7, and then Jordan Love at 8, purely on the points. I'm not that high on Jordan Love, actually. A lot of times out there, you look at him, and he just doesn't seem like he's into the game. He doesn't have the emotion. He doesn't. He just seems like he's not with it. I don't know. And his season last year was actually not as good as his rookie season, I don't think, because he started out slow in his rookie season, but it took a while for the receivers who are also young to gel with him. And then the second half, he was like lights out.
It was 18 touchdowns,
great.
1 pick the last 8
and
weeks.
then
or something.
he played so well in the playoffs, actually giving San Francisco a tough time, having the opportunity to win the game on the last drive where he threw an interception. So, and this past year, I thought he seemed like he was just going through the motions, and he got hurt for a while there. So I have a hard time putting him at 7. I dropped him to 8 purely on the points factor. He had 200 points. Number 8, I have Justin Herbert, who was 199.7. I like him, but his playoff performance last year was very poor. But he didn't have anyone to throw the ball to. I mean, he had the most drops, I think, by receivers of any quarterback. And Quentin Johnson, I think, I think they'd be well to get off of him. Did they pick up a receiver in the
later than what people wanted, but yes, they did.
Yeah, they picked one up. Hopefully, they need somebody to go along with Lab McConkey. Number 9, I went with Baker Mayfield. I was very surprised he wasn't on this list. That guy is a real competitor. He gets 92 points in my QBR rating, and he had 106 on the passer rating. He's one of the higher ranked there. How he could be left out here, particularly his fire, his motivation, his willingness to take a hit, his most of his game-making decisions, his decisions in the game have improved a lot over the past couple of years. I had him ranked at number 9.
10. You had him at 10 here.
Oh, I'm sorry, 10. Okay, and then Brock Purdy I have at number 11. Based on let's see his.
Did you go on the numbers on this one? Because
Yeah.
I have a comeback with this one, but I want to hear your reason.
198 points. His QBR at 102. I think 2024 was not his best year. He fell off. They say that he benefited a lot from the talent around him in his first couple of years, which fell off this past year. And, he has some games, and then the fourth quarter he doesn't play well. But numbers-wise, even with all of that, this past season, a 96 passer rating and 102 on my QBR rating gave him 198 points, kept him in the top 10.
I do have a comment about this, because when we had this conversation.
Let me finish.
You want to go?
Okay, I only got one more to go here.
Matt Stafford at 12.
I don't know how Matt Stafford couldn't be in the top 12. I agree with you. Given the time he gave the Eagles, there was a lot of Eagle fans that had their hearts in their throat on that last drive in terrible weather conditions. He hung in there. He got hit hard in that game. He actually had there was some turnovers that they had in that game, and they still came back from those. That was a great football game, and he played extremely well in that game. And overall, when he has his weapons out there on the field, he's as good as there is, I think. So how you'd leave him out of the top 12, I couldn't do it. I think the rankings here say, well, he's getting old. Well, so what? He's still playing with and as a top 10, 12 quarterback. So I think he had to be on the list.
Too.
Yeah, now he's got a Devontae Adams. So we'll see how he does this year. I looked for the Rams to be, a Super Bowl contender this next year. That's my list. Nate.
Super Bowl contender. That's an interesting one when we do our NFL breakdown.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think they will be.
The Brock Purdy one's interesting because we had a conversation about a month ago when I made this top 10 list, and I didn't have Brock Purdy on, and we had was it Jed York, I believe, come out and say that, or maybe it was John Lynch, come out and say that we're going to pay Brock Purdy like a top 10 quarterback because Brock Purdy is a top 10 quarterback. And you agreed with that. You did think Brock Purdy was a top 10 quarterback. And then you just did, based on your numbers, he's number 11 for you.
Okay, well, I hadn't done all my math, and now the season is over. The season's over with all my math. I'm sorry, he did drop to 11.
There we go.
But I do think he's in the. Did you have him?
Data
you don't
doesn't
even
lie.
have him. Do you have him in the top 12?
I had him. In my top 12, he's number 11 for me. He's in the exact same spot as you, but I didn't have him in my top 10 because he isn't a top 10 quarterback. So, do you have any specific reason of why he was number 10 for the list?
Well, it's a 25. He has 111 passer rating during the stretch.
Where he had Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, healthy offensive line, great defense. Again,
he remains the
Jimmy G did the
highest
same
rated
thing.
passer in NFL history among quarterbacks with at least 1,000 attempts. Yeah, so
again, he's had the deepest roster
49ers.
anybody's had to start a rookie season.
His first 14 games, he threw 22 touchdown passes, just 4 interceptions. As I said, he's fallen off after that. The 26 starts since then, that ratio has dropped, and there's 42 TDs and 23 interceptions. So that's an issue. But I don't know whether he's peaked or whether
I don't think he's peaked necessarily.
We'll see what happens, and I do think he should get a decent contract. It may not one of the highest paid ones, but he should get a decent contract given he's been playing for nothing. And he did get him to the Super Bowl, 2 NFC championship games and 1 Super Bowl. And in one NFC championship game, he went back in there even though he couldn't even throw the ball because he ripped a tendon in his elbow. So I give the guy's got fire. I give him. I should be in the top 12.
I would like to just point out, just going to send it out here. People hate when I give this, but it's the truth. It's the facts. Jimmy Garoppolo with Christian McCaffrey. If we're talking about like the fair comparison, because that Kansas City game he just got there. So if we're talking about where Christian McCaffrey's now fully integrated and he didn't just show up there. Jimmy Garoppolo's 5-0, 71.5% completion percentage, 981 yards in those 5 games, 7 touchdowns, no picks, a passer rating of 113.9. Again, throwing it out there. When everybody's out there and when you have the deepest and the best roster in the NFL, it's easy to perform at a very high level.
Mm-hmm. It's clearly a fact.
When you're a competent quarterback, it's easy to perform at a pretty good level.
Mm-hmm.
When you face a little bit of adversity, and again, there's some clutch numbers out there that says Brock Purdy is not as clutch as people think.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe there's some adjustments to the formula that are necessary to when the team has the elite player a quarterback surrounded by a lot of elite players. It gets some points taken off.
I mean,
but that would point out a quarterback like Jaden Daniels, who didn't have the greatest wide receiver core aside from McLaurin, right? Look how well he did.
Exactly.
I mean, we have him rated higher than Brock Purdy
because he is actually able to perform. He had a bunch of come from behind victories.
Yeah, and he's much more mobile.
Exactly.
So
he led his team in rushing, and he's a quarterback. So, absolutely.
And you look at Lamar Jackson. Does he have the greatest wide receiver talent?
Well, that was the big argument early in his career. I would
say
but
now, even last season, did he have the greatest wide receiver talent? I would say no.
He did not have a Jamar Chase, but everybody is very good.
I think Zay Flowers is very good, but he was hurt at the end.
Right.
He didn't play. He didn't play much in the playoffs.
Well, again,
right?
When you're able to have an 1,800-yard rusher. Plus, you could run for 1,000 yards in any given season.
Mm-hmm. But still, he
still passed
for over 4,000 yards.
No, absolutely. The play action was beautiful.
Even with all that offense that came from the ground attack, right?
Right.
He still passed for 4,000 yards with a wide receiver core that you would hardly say was elite. So that's why Lamar Jackson's my number 1 quarterback in terms of performance. In terms of Super Bowl winning and all of that, well, you got to say Mahomes is right up there.
Right.
Because look at what he's done the last 6-7 years. It's amazing.
It's the greatest 7-year start to an NFL career.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, the play action.
But I would say that he hurt his overall reputation. There's a little tarnish on it from this last Super Bowl, the way he played. He did not play well. When he was under pressure, he did not perform.
I agree. And the thing with Lamar Jackson is the play action worked extremely well. He had 134 passer rating when working the play action. That's insane. So, yeah, no, the play action was working beautiful. He had 15 touchdowns, 1 pick while operating under play action.
Yeah.
So, Lamar's numbers speak for themselves absolutely. 1,000%. He is, and I think I had him, again, it wasn't like a full list. I had him as number 4, but, he would be a top 3 quarterback today for me. If I was doing a true 1 to 10 list for me, Lamar would be probably the number 2 or number 1 quarterback on my list as well. No doubt about it. All right, let's get to our final topic of today's show.
Okay, well, the Knicks welcome the Celtics into Madison Square Garden for games 3 and 4 of the Eastern Conference semifinals with the New York up 2-0 in the series. Are the Celtics in danger of being swept, Nate?
I think the right answer is they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be in danger of being swept. Gentlemen swept, maybe. I'll give them gentlemen swept because I do think, like I've mentioned before, and the data backs it up, the Celtics are a much better road team than they are a home team. But the thing I am nervous about is being down 0-2 during the Jayson, Tatum, Jaylen Brown era. Guess how many series wins they have while being down 2-0? 0. During this era of Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown, this has happened twice. They were down 2-0 against Brooklyn. They got gentlemen swept. They were down 3-0 against the Heat. Everybody remembers that series, and they nearly came back if it wasn't for a Derek White 0.4 second rebound tip-in, and then Max Strus and Caleb Martin had a phenomenal Game 7, and the Heat ended up beating them in 7. But they are 0-2 when they're down 2-0 in a series. So that doesn't really bode very well for the Boston Celtics in winning the overall series. But I think that the way they operated Game 2 and Game 1, but I extrapolated some data from Game 2 where it's 10 of their offensive rebounds came on missed threes. That's an issue because it was take the 3, miss it, offensive rebound, back out for 3, miss it. And this was one of the opening sequences of the game. It was take a 3, miss, offensive rebound, back out for 3, miss, offensive rebound, back out for 3, miss. What are you doing? Drive the damn basketball already. But I can't say that because that would be not something that the Boston Celtics do. They shot 63s in Game 1. They only made 25% of them. Okay, well, now they only shot 43s. They still made 25% of them. So the way the Celtics operate, it's not great basketball. It's more so just, okay, how many threes are you going to get today? How many threes are you going to get? How many threes are you going to get? It's like Oprah Winfrey, but with 3-pointers. How many are you going to get in this one? Everybody takes their plethora of threes. Peyton Pritchard, Al Horford, Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White. They all want to take them. If Sam Hauser was out there, how many would he take? It's whoever can get their threes up, and Kristaps Porzingis if he's ever healthy again. So when it comes to the Boston Celtics, are they in danger of being swept? I have to say yes, because you're down 2-0. You just got swept at home. Now you're going to Madison Square Garden, and this might be the loudest Madison Square Garden that maybe in the history, because I was at Game 5. That arena was very loud because you were, down a few games to the Miami Heat. You won Game 5 in a very nice win. So I would definitely say that in my experience, I've been to a couple of Knicks games here and there. A lot of them were loud. Game 5 was by far the loudest I've ever been. Last year, yeah. If they get a massive lead on the Boston Celtics or Jalen Brunson does another step back late, the roof might cave in for Madison Square Garden. Because if you somehow go up 3-0 against the defending champions, there's no doubt in my mind that internally, Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown and maybe even Joe Mazzulla, they'll never say it, but they may wave the white flag and say, you know what? There's already reports out there that even if we win the finals, our roster is going to get blown up. Why not just do it now and figure out earlier rather than later what exactly we're going to do? Because this is a very, very expensive roster that you would expect every single season to at least make the NBA Finals. Now they're in danger of being swept by the New York Knicks, who during the regular season did not win a single game against the number 1 seed in the Western Conference and didn't win any games in the regular season against the top, I guess you would say the top 2 seeds, in the Eastern Conference. And now you're in danger of not winning a single game against that exact same team in the playoffs. So are they in danger? Yes. Do I think they will get swept? No. I expect them to take at least one game away from the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden. But I'm not expecting it because I'll say it again. I'm going to play the clip again of me saying this. This is what I said last show about the Boston Celtics after Game 1's quote-unquote, crazy random performance. Take a listen.
You think they'll be 25% from three the next game?
It wouldn't surprise me again if they shoot between 30 and 20% from three in one of these upcoming games. It would not surprise me at all. I do think we'll see another game like this. It might be 27%. It may be 30%. But I believe we are going to see another game, and especially from Jayson Tatum. We might see two more of these Jayson Tatum games. Who knows? I knew. Nate Stradamus at your service. I do predict the Knicks will win this series now. Will it be in 6? Will it be in 5? It will not. I'm saying this right. It will not surprise me if the Knicks go out and gentlemen sweep the Boston Celtics, because the Celtics right now, where's looking up? Right now, you're in an abyss. You're in a chasm, and the only light you see is a minuscule light because of just how badly you're up 20. You're up by 20 points in both of these games, and you killed it in the fourth quarter. This is the same team that blew several leads in this exact same Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown era against the Cavaliers, against the Heat, now against the Knicks. And now you're doing it in the playoffs. Alarms, red lights, flash, blaring.
Okay, well, let's not forget what the Knicks did in the offseason. They went out and they got Mikal Bridges, and they got Anthony Towns. They have O.J. Anunoby, and they have a defense that has given the Celtics fits now. And they lock it down in the fourth quarter, and the Celtics haven't got an answer for it. So they've got to figure that out. Will the Knicks sweep the Celtics? I think it's possible, but I agree with you. I think the Celtics will win at least one. They need to win both to have a chance, and if they don't, I think the series is over. I'd be surprised if it was a gentleman's sweep. I think that the Knicks going back to Boston up 3-1. There's enough pride there with the Celtics that they get it to 3-2. And then the Knicks will probably come back and win it. But to think that you're down 0-2 and have to go to Madison Square Garden to win 2 in a row, give me a break. The Knicks fans are some of the best in basketball. They're crazy. We've been to games and the place goes nuts. And even when they're down, they still yell for them and cheer for them. It's the mecca of basketball. It's a tough place to go in and try to take 2 from the Knicks, who are already up 2-0. I think Thibodeau is definitely out-coaching Missoula. You say that if the Celtics, it's a gentleman's sweep, they lose, that the team might get blown up. I think
that's not what I'm saying. That's the reporting.
Okay,
Brian Windhorst is saying that this roster's done.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that will happen. Maybe Al Horford will retire. I doubt it. He'll probably want to play. I think that what would really happen there is that will be the end of Missoula. They'll get rid of him. And rightfully so. How can he let this happen? And they had a timeout at the end of this last game, right? There was 4 seconds left. Was it 4? There was 4.
With the timeout, I think there was 12 or 13.
12, 13. They didn't take the timeout.
Right.
Why? Why not take the timeout?
Missoula was asked that question, and he said that they liked the exact same look they had on the play prior, except the Knicks just played better defense on this go around.
I think they should have taken the timeout and talked it over. I really think so. I think Thibodeau is definitely out-coaching Missoula. The Celtics can't figure out his defense in the fourth quarter. Porzingis being ill is a factor here. He looks skinny as a rail. I don't know. Maybe the guy's got some weird disease. I don't know. I feel bad for him. He's a good player, and he's just had some bad luck in terms of injuries, and now the sickness, and it's really taking an impact on the Celtics. He averaged 20 points a game in the regular season. But I think overall the biggest factor in this is Tatum, his poor shooting. It's terrible. What's the story here? This guy is in the top 4 every year in MVP voting. What's the story here? Why is he shooting so poorly? I don't get it. Also, Jaylen Brown, why do they let him handle the ball so much? He turns the ball over. He has
no left hand.
He's not a great ball handler at all. They should leave the ball, the handling of the ball with White, and pass it to Brown, catch and shoot. I don't think he should be driving, handling the ball. He's turning it over. When they lost to Miami there in Game 7, when they came back 2 years ago, This is his problem again. He's turning the ball over all the time, handling it too much and dribbling it too much. I think the Knicks getting the balanced scoring with big contributions from Towns, Hart, and Bridges is a big worry for the Celtics. They usually count on it's usually Brunson that's leading the way, banging heads with the people down low, and finding ways to score and dribbling the ball all over the place, using up most of the clock, and not everyone else kind of standing around. That's not what's happening in this series. It's a balanced scoring, and Josh Hart in this last game, 23 points. I mean, he's quite a player. I think they picked him up. Was it 2 years ago? And what a great acquisition for them. I think also the wing defenders, as I mentioned, Anunoby and Bridges, creating big problems for the Celtics. It's Thibodeau's defense. I'm really impressed with the Knicks. I thought that they would run out of gas here. I thought it would be Jalen Brunson carrying them, or they lose, and they've shocked me.
I tend to agree with you that the defense, especially late, has come up in very big spots. The part that I'll actually disagree with you on, would you believe that nearly half of all three-point attempts the Celtics have had in games 1 and 2 have been wide open? So that's not defense. And they've made 25% of their wide open threes. Oh. And I planned on doing it, and I may do it for game 3. I was going to do sort of like a Family Feud style. I might do this for game 3. I mean, let me explain real quick. I was going to do a game show. I was gonna put up for the show. I was gonna put up a little picture of what's gonna happen. I would give you an A through E of what would happen, because there were several times where it's like A, he'll drive, B, generate contact, C, pass it, D, 2-point shot, E, miss a wide open 3. And if you just said E for every single one of them, you would have been right. Because there was one Jayson Tatum, I think I forget who was guarding in the paint. It might have been Deuce McBride. Jayson Tatum's in the corner late in the game. Wide open 3. Nobody's near him. He completely misses. Jaylen Brown has an open lane at the top of the key to drive, generate contact, make a 2-pointer, whatever. Takes a bad rush 3-point shot. That's what the Celtics are. They're 3-pointer. I have the play-by-play. I have every single play-by-play. Look, missed shot, offensive rebound, missed 3, offensive rebound, missed 3. It's just, that's who they are. What Karl-Anthony Towns did was high percentage shots on misses, get the tip in. He's always there. Most of his points have come actually from around the rim on a missed shot, tip in shot.
Mm-hmm.
That's nearly 100% from the floor.
So so you have a good point there. They're missing wide open threes. Why? Why are the Celtics missing so many wide open threes when they were a great 3-point shooting team? What is the cause of it?
I think it's really just getting in their own heads. Once they start missing, and think about it, Rick Pitino said this for college basketball. St. John's was counting their misses. You go up, 15 for 60 and you're not counting your misses? Now you're 10 of 40, you're not counting your misses? Everybody's like, how are the Celtics missing 100? They took 100 threes and made 25 of them. They've missed the most shots in the first 2 games, I think, in NBA history. And think about this. They're shooting, in game 2, they shot 24% from mid-range. They shot 76% from around the rim.
Yeah, so you're saying it's a psychological thing.
I think it's 100% psychological because, like you just said, they're one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the NBA. They've won most of their games by just out-shooting you from 3. The whole mindset is 3 is more than 2. Well, the only way that 3 is more than 2 is if you make the 3. Otherwise, it's 0 is less than 2. Because the Knicks are all taking high percentage shots. Most of their shots are high percentage, mid-range, down low, Karl-Anthony Towns tip-in shots. And occasionally you get the crazy 3 by Jalen Brunson or with Mikal Bridges and whatnot, but it's generally high percentage shots. The Knicks aren't even shooting that well. Shot 29% from 3. Most games against the Pistons, the Pacers, the Cavs, the Thunder, whoever else, you go through the other 29 or 28 teams in the NBA and the Knicks shoot 29% from 3. What's the likelihood that the Knicks pull out with that win?
They wouldn't.
My guess is pretty damn low.
Yeah.
But against the Boston Celtics right now, they've had back-to-back very poor shooting games.
So you think the Celtics should get some psychiatrists in there to talk to the players before the game?
I think Joe Mazzulla, and this is the exact same thing with Bill Belichick, except they're like 40 years apart from one another. Mazzulla is stuck in his way of doing things. even when it's not working, it's just we'll keep shooting it. We'll shoot ourselves out of this slump. Last time I checked, you missed 75 3-pointers in 2 games. You're now down 2-0. Maybe drive more. Just going to put that out. Maybe drive more. Because they took 43 pointers.
Mm-hmm.
They took
well,
33
who's going to drive?
mid-range.
Who's going to drive? It can't be Jaylen Brown. He turns the ball over the way he handles the ball.
Jayson Tatum needs to say, everyone regards
That's
me as
what
the
I'm
best
saying.
damn player.
The big factor is Jayson Tatum. He is not living up to his reputation.
I would say Jaylen Brown also isn't, because he's supposed to be the 1B. He was the Finals MVP.
You got to use him different in the offense. Catch and shoot. Don't be dribbling around. He turns it over too many times.
Well, sadly, the Celtics have been catch, shoot, and miss.
No.
Normally, it is catch and shoot and get back. It's catch, shoot, and miss.
Yeah,
that's the big issue for them.
Well, I'm a Celtics fan, and I'm devastated by this so far. But
they're favored on the road too.
Yeah, they are the
5.5 point favorites.
The Celtics are.
Yeah, look, lower third, 5.5.
I don't see how they
favorites.
can do that with Porzingis being ill. I don't see how they can do that.
Do you think the Celtics are going to lose Game 3? Let's get final predictions. Game 3. Who wins Game 3? 3:30 p.m. game. I'm not sure if the
3:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah. I didn't find the data on
Yeah.
if the Celtics play better on early window games.
I'm picking the Celtics, but I'm not confident of that. I'm not confident of that. It won't be 5 points. They have to win this game. If they are the last year's NBA champions,
right?
How can they lose this next game? If they have any championship pride, they're going to find a way to win this game.
That's a good point. Pride.
Have some pride, guys. You got to step up here. Look at how the Knicks have stepped up. They beat you twice at home.
Yeah.
You got to step up. Have some championship pride. You're the champions from last year. You're one of the best teams in the NBA in the regular season. You swept you had a gentleman's sweep against the Magic. You were overconfident. I mean, you thought it was going to be a cakewalk with the Knicks, and it's not. The Knicks are good. The Knicks have got a great coach. The Knicks have got a great scheme. The Knicks are not relying totally on Jalen Brunson. That's
the big thing.
It's a big thing, right? Because come on,
they relied on.
You got to figure it out.
Right.
You can figure it out. You were last year's champion. You got to show some pride. You got to win Game 3.
I think that's the biggest thing, because against the Detroit Pistons, Jalen Brunson needed to come up big late in the game, because we had 2 duds from Karl-Anthony Towns where he scored 10 points. Mikal Bridges also didn't have very good games. OG Anunoby had poor shooting nights. It was Jalen Brunson dropping 40 points. It was him dropping 33 points that led him to at least win those games. And I'm pretty sure they won them all on the road by, I think, under 5 points or something. Totally.
Yeah, that's why I'm so surprised at this series.
Well, no, this team is built to
balanced.
beat the Celtics, though. That's the thing.
And Jalen Brunson is not, he gets the ball and he uses up 80% of the 24-second clock dribbling around.
Yeah.
And that they're not doing that. And maybe that was their scheme. But the Celtics were expecting the kind of Detroit series, and they would focus on Brunson. That's not what's happening here. Brunson is getting rest during the game. He played 38 minutes the other night. He didn't come into the fourth quarter until 7 minutes left. And it was Bridges that was carrying them. It's as Josh Hart said, we don't really know what we're capable of, and they're showing that they surprised themselves. I'm pretty sure they surprised themselves.
Yeah, because think about it. They're not shooting well.
Did they think they were going to win both games in Boston? No way.
No. I think deep down, if you ask anybody there in private off the record, are you going to go into Boston and go up 2-0? Every single person would say,
no
probably
way.
not to no. And think about this. I kind of agree with Josh Hart. They haven't shot well. What happens when they start making their shots?
No. Look out, Celtics.
The Celtics average Game 6 loss when they're down 2-0 in the series.
Yeah.
Game 6 series
87.5% of the time.
30-5 record. Yeah.
87.5% of the time, the team that goes on the road, wins the first 2 games, and comes home, winds up winning the series.
And when it comes to the Celtics and they do that, the opposing teams are 100%. So.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Doesn't look good.
I'm going to take here's the issue.
Know what? Just to look ahead, let's say the Knicks do win this series.
I was actually going to talk about
this. And the Pacers knock off the Cavs, which they're up 2-0, right? I'd say the Knicks got a damn good chance of getting to the final.
And here's where that aspect comes into play. I wouldn't feel good about the Knicks winning the NBA Finals, because this is a unit to beat the Boston Celtics. This is not a big unit. You go up against the Timberwolves, or you go up against the Oklahoma City Thunder. I wouldn't feel that great.
No, maybe the Thunder. I'm not sure about the Timberwolves.
Timberwolves have great defense, and you have Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle, and you're up against former teammates Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo.
Yeah, that would be something, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
That would be something.
100%. All right, well, that wraps up today's show of the Harvey Hour. We thank you, as always, for tuning into today's show. Tuesday should be a phenomenal show. We got more NFL news. We keep hearing this thing about Aaron Rodgers, and there is actually some football news that I want to get into with Rodgers. Supposedly, there's some rumors out there that he may have blocked the Steelers from drafting Shedeur Sanders. We'll talk about that on Tuesday, as well as Shedeur doesn't take first-team reps in rookie camp. Dylan Gabriel did. We'll talk about that on Tuesday, as well as we'll recap all these playoff NBA games, so make sure you stay tuned.
Great NBA playoffs. I'm really
This has been the best NBA playoff series that I've seen in a long
disappointed
time.
with the Celtics, but watching the Warriors play and watching the Nuggets play, the Nuggets-Clippers series, what a great series that was. I mean, I love the first round because there's basketball all the time. It's like every night, from 7 till midnight, There's basketball. But in the second round here, it's very surprising. Yeah. Very surprising.
Up until...
Look at the Cavaliers. I mean, they're down 0-2 as well.
They play tonight, actually, or they play right now. They're up 11-0 against the Indiana Pacers. Wow. 11-0, although we just saw them go up against the Pacers last time and then choke when the Tyrese Halliburton made three.
Well,
everybody is back healthy,
by the Celtics. Similar to the Celtics, right?
Yeah.
They were hanging around the Pacers, and at the end they heard the Halliburton shot. Wow.
Yeah. It's a crazy playoff season. I mean, think about it. Before the Nuggets got destroyed by the Oklahoma City Thunder, road teams were 5-0. That's never happened before.
Yeah.
So that just shows you how crazy these playoffs are. But yeah, playoff basketball, we'll talk about that on Tuesday, as well as some NFL news like I mentioned. That will all be Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube.
Good night, Grandpa.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN,